Shouldn't we, learn by dodging balls that are thrown at us, or...
That's what this sack of wrenches is for. If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
What?
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode
of the Mediocre
Movie Majors. Season 2.
Welcome.
We're still going.
Making these, guys.
A lot of people have been asking me, like, why did I stop doing the podcast? I didn't.
We're here.
We've just been busy.
How have you been?
I've been all right. It's a hot summer this year, and it's only going to get hotter each year going from here on out for the rest of our lives.
I feel like, is it normally always 94 degrees in June?
No, it's global warming.
I'm scared.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Let's talk about movies. Fuck
Let's
that.
talk about movies,
the
y'all.
Doomsday Clock? What's that?
If you've only got 5 years, I know what podcast you should be listening to in the meantime.
First movie we're going to talk about is an all-time classic. It's the 1987 Predator.
Starring
Arnold Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers.
Oh, Carl Weathers.
So what do you want to say about Predator? I mean, really, it's just like...
I
never saw this. I'll be real. This is my first time watching it. But
I did know me all the time.
I did know all of the references. I did know all of the plot, and I have seen all of the main scenes.
On
so
YouTube
you could...
Shorts.
No, not even YouTube Shorts. Probably this is from just over the years of just like TV and just
Your dad
playing
would have
video
this on the
games
TV.
and stuff. Like in Enter the Gungeon, there's like a literal predator gun that makes you invisible and like has like the honing tracking thing.
Okay.
So like it's a very popularly referenced thing. So I kind of knew the whole plot going in, and even the whole twist with the mud to like escape the thermal vision. I feel like I might have seen that on MythBusters even.
Okay, so you haven't sat down and watched the film, but you've watched it essentially.
Yes. And I will say, sitting down and watching the film is a great time. If you haven't done it, you should do so. It's a fun one.
I didn't know much about this film going into it, and I would agree that if you know a lot about the movie or you don't know a lot, it's still going to be a fun time to sit down and watch, have the experience of watching it.
I thought the actual plot of they're like a military group that's like covert ops and stuff, and like the people in it. I thought all that was kind of interesting, but really boring. It was more I was just like waiting for like Jason to murder all the campers, you know. And
you gotta
that
set
was
it up.
the fun.
You gotta set it up.
Yeah, the setup doesn't take too long to get there. That's pretty immediate, but definitely the weakest part of the movie. Because from there on out, it's just a great fun of almost like a Moby Dick style. Like all the crew members kind of slowly dying one by one kind of shit.
I can see why they did an Alien and Predator crossover. It makes sense that they're in the same universe to me.
It really does, yeah. And that was one of the many 2000s like Freddy versus Jason, Alien versus Predator, Terminator versus RoboCop. It was like
they should make more.
Let's bring that fad back,
right?
Yeah, that was like my favorite pop culture fad because I love like Avengers and crossover shit. So that was like my jam. Like Godzilla versus King Kong. Oh my god,
why are we not doing more of those?
Well, they did do one, but the newest one they actually don't fight in. Godzilla and Kong. It's called Godzilla and Kong because they don't even fight.
Godzilla and Kong.
It's terrible, but I didn't watch the Skull Island movies, so I kind of don't know the plot.
All right.
I went in super blind to that one. Yeah. So either way, I gave Predator 5 bags.
I gave it 4 bags. I thought it was really fun.
You just hate Carl Weathers or something.
Whoa.
4 bags for Predator is pretty damn low.
4 bags for Predator. It feels like I could maybe bump it up to a 4.5. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it is one of those movies. It's like
you're a girl. I get it.
You kind of know what's gonna happen. Like I said before, you've seen Alien. You kind of know what to expect from it. You know, it does a little bit of interesting things, but it is what it is.
So yeah. Next up, kind of jumping vibes, sort of 180. We watched Flubber. And rest in peace, Robin Williams, obviously. Man was a legend. He named his daughter Zelda. Like, you know this dude would have cameoed in the Mario movie if he made it that long.
Yeah.
But either way, I love him. I miss him. This is... Did you know Disney made this movie? Like, what the hell?
What do you mean? Of course I did. This is a Disney certified classic.
I never associated this movie with Disney.
Certified platinum in my home.
I always associate Robin Williams and Disney having the biggest beef. That's all I really think of when I think Robin Williams and Disney. I think the Aladdin Robin Williams beef because the whole thing was he didn't want to be like that movie to ride on his fame as an actor, and it did, and he hated Disney for it, and they had many years of beef, but they eventually hashed it out. But this was before Aladdin.
I just looked it up. 92 was Aladdin. And
so this was like totally during the beef, which is crazy.
It's like 5 years, maybe.
Yeah, but that beef went on to like 2010.
Yeah,
that was a a beef.
But but this isn't like an animated. I mean,
that's true. It wasn't an animated film.
It's
it was
Robin Williams is there. You get to see him in all of his amazing comedicness. So if you guys don't know what Flubber is,
it's like a gross CGI thing from 1997.
It's not even that gross, honestly.
It's kind of gross. It's like slime.
It's like slime if like Mr.
It's
Bubbles.
like if slime was a minion.
You know in SpongeBob when there's Bubble Boy?
Oh yeah.
He's like, but like imagine he's made out of Nickelodeon slime.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's uncanny because it has that 2000s, or I guess this was 90s, kind of like CGI, but honestly, it's also in the same way, like it's fun, it's cute, it doesn't look too bad, you know, you can kind of suspend your belief because it's like that kind of 90s after school movie. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's fun. I mean, everyone knows the scene of Flubber dancing. If you don't know that scene, just go watch it on YouTube. I don't know if you need to like watch the whole Flubber
I forgot the
movie.
plot of it, but it's very much a romance story. It's that tried and true Disney man wants girl but has plot conflict.
He's he's an inventor. He's like one of those classic Disney like spazzy inventor kind of guys, and he invents Flubber. And craziness ensues, if you will. It's fun. I remember laughing at this. I gave it 3 bags because
I also gave it 3 bags because it's a movie.
Yeah.
It definitely is a 90-minute movie.
It is what it is.
It certainly existed. I said that's a Flubber moment, and I feel like that holds true. It is a Flubber moment.
It's fun. I think if you watch this as a kid, it might be fun to revisit it, but I don't know. I feel like maybe just like let it have its place.
I don't think I could recommend anyone to rewatch this. It's very much.
Yeah.
You could spend 90 minutes doing a lot better. Maybe it's background fodder. If you need something to listen to, why not?
I would just
love
let
Robin
it have
Williams.
its place in your mind. In your
So
heart.
next up, we got like a boy classic. I mean, I guess this is just classic film. Let's be real.
I don't know. I've never seen this.
Dodgeball.
You were calling this a sleepover classic. And...
This is such a boy sleepover classic. And like, I don't know if that's just like me projecting, but 2004 was a fun year because this is Dodgeball, a true underdog story. And it's got Vince Vaughn. It's got fucking Ben Stiller.
Yeah, that's true. It's
a fun one. It's a fun movie with a lot of great classic lines. And, you know, it's one of those that I've watched so many times over the years that it's just, like, ingrained in my brain, plot-wise.
That's so funny. I never heard of this movie until, for some reason, it got brought up.
This and Basketball were both, like, sleepover classics.
That's so funny. I literally had never even heard of this movie. And, like, I like to think that, like, I'm pretty aware of, like,
they're funny, but they're not,
comedies.
like, gross-out funny. Which is why, like,
this one was good because it wasn't... It was a little bit sexist, but in, like, the way that you're like, it's a 2000s movie.
Yeah, like, the main bad guy is sexist, but at the end of the day, it was, like, girl power, and she's, like, you know... But, it was a very classic movie. My favorite line is the classic from Patches. If you can dodge a brick, you can dodge a ball. Like, come on.
Yeah.
That's so true.
It is really truly an underdog story about what if you...
had a gym
win
and it was going out of business
tournament.
and you needed to win a dodgeball tournament to make money.
What more can we say? It's a fun boy
It's a very
comedy
fun movie. I gave it 4 bags.
I gave it 3.5 bags. I honestly had a fun time with it.
Very fun
I would
time.
probably rewatch this in a certain situation if I really needed to. But I don't have much to really like.
Yeah, there's not much. There's really not. I mean,
Vince Vaughn does a good.
It has some of that Seinfeld problems where it's like a lot of the jokes are at like the expense of physical looks of women and stuff. But like that's of the era, and I hate to say it. That's just the 2000s. It was like,
and honestly, I feel like I've seen movies do worse.
Oh yeah, it wasn't even that offensive as a whole.
Yeah,
but you know, 4 bags. So next up, we got The Lovely Bones.
This is such a
one
of
the weirder Peter Jackson movies. And this man's made some weird movies.
It's weird that Peter Jackson made this, but it's also like it makes a lot of sense. But at the same time,
it doesn't. It really doesn't. Peter Jackson is known for his like fantasy epics.
And this has like a very
none of
like,
this is like grounded in reality.
The thing
this
that
is
makes
totally
me
like a suburb story.
It makes sense that Peter Jackson made this because this movie's like an hour too long.
Yes, the pacing is fucking slow as shit I've ever sat through. And it's not a very satisfying movie. I think Big Fish did this concept better.
Big Fish? Yeah, but it's slightly different, but yeah.
It's definitely a completely different vibe, whereas Big Fish was more of like a Forrest Gump kind of experience.
Yeah.
I just think
Big Fish is so Tim Burton coded.
Coded, yeah, but not. It's I rewatched that recently anyway.
Yeah. You just wanted to bring up the fact that.
Well, I just wrote. I wrote that. I wrote that in my Letterboxd review, and I'm not exactly sure what I meant because I kind of forget this entire film is kind of just a blur in my brain.
So
it was very forgettable.
If you haven't seen this movie, it's essentially the story of a girl who tragically gets murdered and sort of her journey through
like the afterlife.
But
that's very much the B plot.
Her family is like dealing with
A plot is her family dealing with grieving and trying to find
her killer, which is sort of why she's stuck in this like.
It honestly kind of reminded me of that Jake Gyllenhaal serial killer film.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Like
Nightcrawler.
No. It's like the real killer. No, he's trying to find the killer, and he's like a
Zodiac.
Yeah. It honestly kind of gave like the main plot of like the father obsessing about the killer.
Yeah,
it was giving Zodiac.
They're
it wanted to be Zodiac.
Grieving, and it sort of shows how like different members of the family take different approaches to grieving and dealing with the loss of their child. The mom kind of like goes off and just sort of pretends that all of this never happened while the dad is stuck behind
and so my main question here is, why did they get the Lord of the Rings guy to make this? Because everyone knows he makes a slow movie. So if it's a slow script,
I mean,
why did they get Peter Jackson?
We need to speak about how the special effects like in the heaven sequences
they didn't look the best.
The
heaven sequences were definitely the most boring and forgettable.
It's
and
really
that's like a shame because that's probably the
running
most
around
in like a cloud or a forest, and it's like, oh wow, but nothing really happens.
Yeah,
there was no bones.
There was
there wasn't any bones.
Zero bones.
There was zero bones.
I thought that like at one point there was like, I guess there was like dead bodies. But
there was dead bodies with no bones.
Yeah.
For a movie called The Lovely Bones.
Yeah.
No bones.
Yeah. No.
So refute that. Refute that, Scientologist.
The Lovely Bones. I feel like I always want to call this The Lonely Bones, but it's The Lovely Bones.
Why did this movie happen? I don't know. I gave it 2.5 bags. This one was probably the sinker of the week. I'll be real.
Yeah, it's disappointing because
it's because it's made by Peter Jackson. This is the same guy who did like.
Saoirse Ronan is really great in this movie. Stanley Tucci does an incredible job being a weird, creepy guy.
Mark Wahlberg definitely is giving dad.
Mark Wahlberg actually kind of slays. It's long.
It's long and slow and not very satisfying. So, fucking good luck with that one. But next up, we got a classic. This is from the 90s. This came out the exact same year as Flubber, actually.
Wow.
So,
period.
Consider that. Fifth Element. You know, this is a Bruce Willis classic. I'm honestly a bit more of a Total Recall girly than Fifth Element. So, it's fun. You know, I like a lot of like the costuming and the wardrobe. A lot. I think it's a lot of the fun enjoyments, but it's very like.
It's of the times of like
wannabe Blade Runner kind of vibe.
Star Wars, like that kind of like
sci-fi. Like the prequels type Star Wars. Yeah. Not like the gritty, dirty 70s and 80s Star Wars. Yeah. No, I agree. And I really don't have anything to say. I mean, I think it's a fun one, but maybe a bit overrated, low key.
Honestly, I don't know. I feel like it's perfectly rated. Like people, I don't know. Like I've heard people say it's good. It was good.
Yeah, it was people fun. I think the plot's a little out there, but it's sci-fi. It's supposed to be, right?
It's sci-fi. It's silly. It's fun.
I don't know. It was a little bit structurally not my favorite type of sci-fi.
Okay, you'd rather just get.
I'm more of a Total Recall girly, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I feel like these movies are very similar with like a regular working class.
And now you're confusing me because I'm like, which one's which?
Total Recall, I guess the memories implants and then goes to Mars.
Yeah, that's when they go to Mars.
Yeah,
okay, so that's
but they're both like working class guys who get sort of thrust into an adventure, like this big sci-fi adventure, and they're very similar. I'm almost willing to bet they came out around the same time. I don't know though. Total Recall might have been an 80s film even.
Yeah, I had fun with this one.
It's a fun one. I gave it 3.5 bags.
I gave it 3.5 bags also.
Yeah, it's a fun one. If you haven't seen it, you could watch it, but you're really not missing much in my opinion.
I think if you're a fan of those kinds of
if you're looking for a fresh sci-fi space adventure,
check it out.
It'll
For
be a
sure.
fun time. It's
Yeah,
definitely of a fun, silly adventure.
It's a lot less. I always thought it was going to be a little bit more serious than it was.
Yeah,
but
no,
it
it's
was
actually a
nice to-
surprising amount of fun.
Yeah.
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 Now, this next one is the new Nick Cage film that came out last year, Dream Scenario.
Scenario. I usually say scenario.
Dream Scenario.
Scenario?
Dream Scenario.
Wait, what?
Oh, hi. Oh, hi. Hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? Dream Scenario. Dream Scenario.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
How are you?
Hi, how are you? Dream Scenario. Sorry, I said it correctly. So Dream Scenario is the new Nick Cage film in which it's based on that like internet sensation where that one guy kept appearing in everyone's dreams. And it kind of takes that and just writes a script with that idea.
It kind of just goes nuts with it, which is the best thing to do if you have Nicolas Cage in your movie.
For sure, although I can't explicitly remember any great Nick Cage-isms
This
from
is
this
definitely like
this is him playing a sane guy.
Yeah,
mostly.
he is
He's like a college professor.
on the Nick Cage scale, pretty normal. If it was anyone else, I'd say, oh, he's a little bit weird.
He's definitely
Like,
a little bit of a weirdo,
yeah,
but like
because it's Nick Cage.
for Nick Cage,
yeah.
he's not doing it. There's no
Yeah.
great Nick Cage-isms. There is a lot of good moments that he does. Like my favorite is when he's like crying on the Zoom call.
Oh my God.
It's like his daughters are getting embarrassed in like live time.
Yeah.
It's so funny. It's honestly a great movie.
It's basically what if everybody dreamed of one guy
Yeah, like what if this guy just appears in your dreams?
and is like
And then he
haunting
kind of is like a
you?
whole like stardom, almost kind of like a Don't Look Up sort of thrust into fame.
They do, yeah. At
And
some point in the movie, they take somewhat of a turn where they start.
it gets
to
a
talk
little
about,
bit
like,
preachy.
what does it mean to not necessarily become a meme, but become
A
a household
cultural
name,
icon.
Yes, and how he's dealing with that. But
And then that was like all fine and good, but my biggest problem was when it took another twist and it was like college students stopped showing up to his class because they would get nightmares of him,
yeah,
and they were getting very like, oh, I don't like him because in my dreams he's bad. And I understand that. I've woken up with dreams like
Yeah.
that, and then and I thought that whole thing was a little bit preachy, even though Nick
yeah.
Cage literally says in the film he's not trying to be political. He's not trying to be one of those cancel culture guys. It's just gives
it gives a
feeling
little
of
bit of that
like
vibe.
culture we live in is very group.
It's a very 2023 movie.
It's a very 2023 movie, and I'm not saying this movie's like making a big statement pro or against cancel culture.
Yeah.
It's more just there is some connection there, whether the film wanted it to be or not, and it's like,
Yeah,
it's fine. I don't know if I would have written the script to be that same way, low key. I feel like it could have went in a little bit more of an absurd direction than that,
yeah.
because
It
the
is
setup
definitely-
is very dark
You
and
think it's
absurd.
gonna be a little bit more absurd, but then you kind of get into it and you're like, oh, the plot is literally like, what if people dreamed of this guy?
Like Nick Cage wants to get a book, and then he gets
Yeah.
famous so he can start writing his book.
oh,
but
there's
then
some great parts with Michael Cera.
yeah, no, there's a lot of good parts, and don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, it's still a fun movie. It was a little bit weird that the film kind of went from like, oh, there's this guy that appears in everyone's dream to like, oh, it's this success story, and then like the rejection of culture,
Yeah,
and it was like
it feels like almost two different ideas put together.
a little bit. It was like they had this idea, and then they kind of just
Kept going.
picked an archetype for a story out of the hat.
Yeah,
and it was like,
yeah. But
it was still
so
a fun.
interesting.
It was still a good
Yeah,
movie,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it was still done really, really well.
Don't
so
let
I,
us discourage you.
I sound critical because I like it. I gave it 4 bags.
So did I.
I love Nick Cage. I love the bald cap thing he had going. Unless he like even shaved, he might have shaved his head for this. Honestly,
Yeah, I don't know what the hair.
it
thing
was so good. I would honestly just watch this movie just for Nick Cage's like George bald spot.
Yeah, it was
It's so good. It's a fun one, and it's definitely a little weird. Definitely a little bit violent.
Yeah.
It's like dream violence, but still, you know.
Yeah.
Next up, we got How High. Now, this is a fun stoner comedy.
It's probably
It's-
racist and sexist
it's-
and
it's-
offensive.
But it's still fun, though.
I'm not saying I was laughing at the
I was not laughing at the expense.
of people, but there was funny moments.
The
in this
script
film.
was just kind of fun. It was
Yes.
very much like, what if, what was that movie? Like It's Hard.
Legally Blonde.
It's like if Legally Blonde was about like 2 stoners.
Yeah, it actually was. Yeah. 'Cause
Now,
they go to Harvard.
They go to
No,
Harvard
or-
and they're like showing up all the like the super rich kids, and it's a really fun concept. there's a bit of a craziness with like he has to like smoke his friend's ashes to see his ghost buddy, and then his ghost friend has like access to everyone in heaven's
which is
information.
somehow like not even like the main
It's
plot.
not even the main plot. It's just something they use as like a tool to advance the plot, which is crazy.
There's like a lot of good things going on.
It's just a movie that's so fucking absurd. It's kind of fun. It's
definitely like, I would say probably like a fun one to watch maybe while you're intoxicated.
Yeah.
Watching this just like at night when I was like a little bit tired even, I was still getting into the vibes though, because it's so crazily made.
Yeah, and it's nothing
you can enjoy
new.
this movie however you want.
It's kind of just Legally Blonde with like, if a white guy was like, what if these two stoner black guys went to Harvard? So it's fun, but also if you have like any of that like media literacy consciousness, you might feel a bit awkward having that information. Yeah. So take that with a huge grain of salt.
Watch it like we were talking about earlier, like these movies that came out in the 2000s that you kind of have to watch with a grain of salt. You kind of have to go in knowing that what you're putting on. It's a movie that was made in 2001 that is maybe not aging the best, but that still has its moments.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree.
And if you can kind of watch it in that way, then I think you'll have a fun time with
I gave it 3.5 bags.
I gave it 3 bags. That's what I'm saying. Like, I had fun with it. Like, it wasn't a bad movie.
It wasn't that offensive.
It was.
As a white guy, I'm saying that. So.
Yeah. So, you know.
Yeah, it was fun, though.
Yeah.
Next up, we got Newsies.
Now is the time to seize the day. We didn't watch the original movie. We watched the 2017 pro shot of the Broadway musical with Jeremy Jordan, because in my opinion, it slays so hard. And Ryder, this was sort of Ryder's introduction to that side of the theater world. We watched
West Side Story though.
Yes, but I'm talking like Jeremy Jordan, Ben Fankhauser.
I don't know who those
yes,
people are.
Exactly. Mike Feist was in Newsies also.
My biggest critique of this was honestly like, why are these starving poor children doing flips and cartwheels? That's stupid. I'm sorry, that's stupid. I don't care how you slice it up. Oh, it's a musical. You're supposed to have fun. No, that malnourished child with a broken leg should not be doing flips and cartwheels. Like, it's so stupid. It's the stupidest.
You are being a
I kind of like when musicals have to like write a reason for characters to dance. Like in Footloose, they can't dance. It's banned in the town. So when he's dancing out of frustration, it makes sense. Or in like Come From Away, when they're like the music is inspired by the location. It's Irish music, you know, or like it has that vague Irish influence to it. Like this just felt so like they had a script and they wanted it to be a big musical number, so they just fucking crammed it together. And it's like, okay, Seth MacFarlane, I've seen Family Guy before. I don't like. It could be funny, I guess, but it didn't seem like it was supposed to be funny.
Clearly you don't know the source material, and clearly you are a hater, and clearly you have no love for musical theater. And one of the most
I think I do have love for musical theater.
That there is.
I think I can give some pros to it. I liked the set. I liked the rotating sets. I liked
the moving sets are literally insane.
Yeah, those were really cool. And like, the plot itself was fine. I like that it was pro-union. Yeah. Big fan of that.
The pro shot is great. It's on Disney Plus. However, I'm a fan of pro shots because it makes theater accessible and you get to, get up and close and see the performance, but sometimes it's hard to translate what it is to see a show and being able to view every part of the stage when they're using so many different close-ups and stuff. There was moments when I was like, I know the set as a whole looks so cool right now, and we're just like on a close shot of Jeremy Jordan's face, which love, but it's not giving the whole picture. But that's just a pro shot. I don't know how to fix that really in general. Do
you think they could do a jukebox musical with just Styx music, kind of like Mamma Mia? Remember how it's like ABBA?
Styx. Oh, like the band.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I thought you meant like
sticks, not like wooden
sticks. Rubbing sticks
together. No. I meant like, come sail away, come sail away, come sail away with me.
Yeah. Mr. Robot. Maybe it could be like about a robot. Mr. Robot.
There's Renegade. Oh, mama, I'm in fear for my life from the law.
This is not a jukebox
of the law. Well, they do at one point play a jukebox.
Do they?
I thought maybe it's a different musical.
I don't know, but this is not a jukebox musical. This is original.
No, I know.
I don't really know how to counter your argument that
You just kind of can't. You kind of can't, and it's because I'm right. I want people.
All of the musical theater girlies right now are screaming, and you know what?
I don't think
guys,
any of them listen to this podcast.
We're gonna get Ryder.
This isn't called the mediocre musical
movie.
Movies.
Musical movie majors.
This isn't that shit. We're movie majors.
We're gonna get Ryder one day, girls.
Hey, I like the idea of diegetic singing and dancing. I think that's a great concept, and there's some musicals that do it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that bothered me every time.
I'm the king of New York.
It's just like let me just pay attention to the story. Like let these actors act.
They are acting.
I gave it 3.5 bags. Same bags as How High.
I gave it 4 bags. Like I said, I think Newsies as a whole is great. I
like the plot
I'm
a lot.
Musical theater girl.
Pro
you know
union.
I'm bumping the soundtrack. Jeremy Jordan, you are everything. I don't know, but I gave it 4 bags. It's great.
So next up, we got the greatest beer run ever.
Zac Efron in movies. You will always be famous. You will always be loved.
Yeah.
This movie's insane.
This one is one of those movies that, speaking of pace, kind of just sort of drags and
dipped
drags
off.
and
This
drags.
movie was one of those movies that I was so invested in, and then all of a sudden, you know when you're invested in a movie and you're like, this is a great movie, and then you're watching it and you're like, this is pretty good, and then you go like, how much is left? And there's like an hour and 10 minutes left, and you go, oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That was this movie.
This had a fun concept of a guy who kind of didn't understand the gravity of the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I'm just going to go fly some beers over for our friends over there.
So,
and like,
a lot of his friends were in the Vietnam War.
And he kind of felt guilty for not enlisting.
Like,
and he was like, oh, I'm going to help him out in my own way.
I'm just going to go over to Vietnam and
bring him some Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Because he has like sort of no concept of
how serious it
war,
is. Yeah.
Really.
And so he gets there, and like the people, it kind of mirrors Apocalypse Now. And
it
that's
does, yeah.
That's the highest praise I'll give this movie. Is that it follows that structure of like outside the war conflict, people are kind of chill with him, but then like as he gets more and more until he's like literally on the battlefield.
Yeah. His friends are kind of like, what? Why on earth would you even?
They're like actually mad at him for coming there.
And he's like, I'm just coming to.
Do we even remember how this ends? I remember he like goes back home and he's kind of like, people back home are like, oh wow, that's crazy.
He kind of
changes
because he finds out that like one of his friends unfortunately passed away.
Yeah.
And there's kind of like a big emotional moment where he has to go back home and speak to the mom of that friend who passed away. And he kind of, I feel like, really has that realization.
And I guess he also learns that Vietnam was bad.
That's, I feel like, when he comes back and he's like, guys, there's some crazy shit going on over there. If you remember, he's like sitting with the journalists, kind of just like being like arrogant, and then basically where they are completely gets like blown up, and he's like, oh.
Yeah.
Shit, like.
And it's also, this is such a weird film to come out in 2022.
Yeah,
it's like,
it's fun, interesting timing.
The message of it is like, Vietnam War bad. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of.
Who possibly would disagree with that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not really nuanced in that way.
Man learns America is lies and war is bad.
Yeah, but it's a fun take.
But it's like,
I love
okay,
Zac Efron.
3 bags. You probably don't need to spend that much of your time.
Like we mentioned before, it was.
It's a full 2 hours.
Weirdly paced.
Yeah, it's a 3-bagger. Next up, we got Good Boys.
What a fun movie!
This was fun.
This was a 2009 movie that I feel like sort of.
2019.
What did I say? 2009?
Yeah.
2019 movie that I feel like kind of had its moment, but not many people are still talking.
It definitely
about
slipped under the radar.
Yeah.
And honestly, it is a bit forgettable. I'll give you that, because even now, reading the synopsis, I'm like, what even happened in this movie? It's a fun movie where like some kids get into some antics, and there's this.
Yeah.
You know.
It's like a Superbad for little kids. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like a Superbad for kids that are even
like
more
don't really know
protected.
What boobies are yet.
Yeah.
But I really genuinely do appreciate that the screenplay of this movie understands how teenage boys are that age. I mean, maybe you could speak more to this.
No, I agree. It was
like there was a lot of moments of like innocence in a way that like if they were a couple years older, it wouldn't really be there. You know what I mean?
No, I agree. It's
and I
fun
really
kids.
appreciate that kind of. I feel like they don't often make movies about that kind of age in your life. You know, where you're growing up, but you're not fully grown yet. But I think after a while, it sort of does get to be one note of like, oh, they don't know what a sex toy is. Okay, that's like funny the first time, but then like.
But then you keep doing that same joke. Yeah. I gave it 3.5. It was okay. I really don't have much to say about it.
I gave it 3.5 bags too. I thought it was good. I had a fun time. I would probably watch this again. This would, I feel like, be a good sleepover movie.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's
probably.
I don't know. It's cute and it's fun and the acting is fun.
Yeah.
And then at the end, like, they're not all necessarily best friends anymore, but they still have that like bond of being friends when you were younger.
Sure. So
very sweet.
Next up, we got Hellboy 2: The Golden Army. God, I love Ron Perlman. I wish I could had his voice.
Do a Hellboy.
I can't. I literally can't. I wish I could.
Okay.
I actually wish I could. Him and like a couple other guys.
Hellboy 2. This is like if there was more of Hellboy 1.
Yeah, it is actually. You're so right and so brave for saying something as original as that.
Thank you.
I'm just excited for the third one.
Oof. Who's gonna tell him? Chat. Who's gonna tell him?
What do you mean? Guillermo del Toro and Ron Perlman are making a third one, right? Because it's a trilogy.
Right.
It'd be crazy just to end it.
It'd be crazy to end
just
it and
not make a third one.
And like kind of set up a third one and never go back.
Never finish the third one that both movies have been building towards.
Right. That'd be crazy.
That'd be crazy. So anyway, 3.5 bags.
I give it 3 bags. I think if you like Hellboy, if you like the first one, you'll like this one.
Yeah. It's fun.
I don't really remember it that much. I'm like not even gonna lie.
No, I know. Me neither. There's really not. It's nothing crazy. There's a guy in like a gas suit, remember?
I kind of. Oh yeah, I liked him.
And there was
actually.
I loved the guy in the gas suit. There was the tooth fairies in the beginning.
Yeah.
And there was that like royalty twin blood stuff with like the golden army. And I kept wanting to say Golden Circle every single time.
I know, because it's like
it's
Hellboy 2,
Kingsman 2,
Army,
Golden Circle.
It's
I might, I don't know, but either way, it was fun. If you liked the first one, this is a classic. Paced pretty well, 120 minutes, but it felt like an hour.
It didn't feel that bad. No.
Shout outs to Guillermo del Toro, King.
Yeah.
Next up, we got Shrek the Musical. This is actually maybe the worst musical I've ever seen.
In as we were speaking with Newsies, I've been trying to.
This is maybe the worst one I've ever seen.
I've been trying to introduce Ryder to a lot more musicals.
My thing, I grew up with Shrek. Shrek is a big part of my childhood.
I mean, who on this earth does not love Shrek?
And so you say Shrek the Musical. All right, that sounds logical. That sounds fun. And there was a lot of really fun things. Like Farquaad was always on his knees the whole time and had like fake feet to make him look really tiny.
They do sound
and like the dragon looked terrifying.
Yeah.
The dragon was really well made. But the biggest problem by far is it didn't have the Shrek atmosphere. It didn't have the Shrek music or any music that sounded like Shrek. And so when you see that giant bathroom stall, like outhouse door kick open, you expect to hear "Somebody once told me," and then it's like him just singing a generic musical song from Broadway was like, okay.
Besides the Sutton Foster, whatever that song's called, "It's Me, Fiona," that's the most popular song from this musical. All the other ones I feel are
even that one didn't feel that good to me. I thought the Shrek actual 2000 animated film where Fiona sings to the birds and it explodes, I thought that was more iconic than that song.
I was gonna say a lot of the songs in here are quite I couldn't really
so
sing,
forgettable,
I couldn't
very
sing
generic
any of them besides that one.
And that's I think the biggest problem I have with musicals is when they just like are like, oh okay, we have this idea, and then they just put in a random uppity pop song from like a show tunesy type crap, and it's like it's so generic. It's like you just disservice.
I think that this is something that is still going on today in the Broadway world, and people have a lot of problems with it, where musicals will take like a popular IP and just sort of like attach music to it without
which
like,
it just raises the question to me. It's like it doesn't seem to understand medium specificity.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is this concept that some narratives are best told in different formats. Like if you're just gonna take a story and slap some licensed songs on it or whatever, why not just do that in a movie?
Yeah,
or make a music video.
It's hard to say because I feel like it's some things translate to the theater, some things don't, and I think Shrek is sort of on the edge of
Shrek easily could have.
Yeah,
that's
really
why I'm so upset
because it's so the world of Shrek is so silly and over the top, and like in this musical even you see like there's so many different characters in the Shrek world,
and the sets were all
because
fine.
It takes a lot from you know fairy tales, and the sets were lacking in my opinion.
I thought that some sets were fine, others were bad.
Yeah,
as a whole they were fine. But it's just like the music is unforgivable because you have something as iconic as Shrek, which is all that early 2000s like borderline ska rock. You know what I mean?
I wish they would have like
leaned
found
into
a
that
way to incorporate the music from,
or not. It doesn't have to be the exact songs, but just like the same sort of style to getting a similar electric guitar tone.
Yeah, this was very much just like musical
generic Broadway show tunes music, and it's like okay,
it's hard.
That's the thing I hate the most about musicals. And
so when they're forgettable.
Well, no, it's just when the music doesn't seem to fit the story.
Yeah, you're learning.
I know. Well, I grew up. I watched like Aladdin as a kid, the musical, and Lion King, and both of those
musicals because
those both I guess have music that like fit
them.
The atmosphere of them. You know what I mean?
I think Disney. I mean, one thing Disney will do is they will put on a good.
And I'm not even trying to praise Disney too much, but I just mean like
I'm
understanding, and so that's why when I'm saying the Newsies recording was like kind of stupid for the same reason, it kind of was stupid for the same reason.
Well,
and you hate to say it. You hate to admit it. You hate to admit it, but I'm right.
Yeah, no.
Why are you booing me? I'm right.
I agree with you on that one.
2.5 more years.
Seize the day.
It's not gonna quit
Santa
halfway
Fe.
through.
Jeremy Jordan singing Santa Fe, like something shifted on the earth.
Yeah. So 2 bags. Shrek the Musical.
I think I also gave it 2 bags. I was disappointed because
it could have been good.
It could have been good.
They really could have made that good, but instead it was just forgettable. Mm-hmm. Next up, speaking of, we have Turbo Kid. Someone must have told me to watch this at some point because it's like, oh, 80s. It's like Mad Max, but with bicycles. That's really all I gotta say about it. It was very kind of generic. It felt like
on Tumblr.
Maybe, but I think
because of the robot.
Oh, because of the like quirky girl. Yeah.
That's the only
this kind of just felt like one of those like rocket jump YouTube skits. You know what I mean? Where it's like a super hyper realistic, serious YouTube skit, or like not even a skit, but like a YouTube.
Like a short film on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie was.
And I'll be honest, for something that was just like made in 2015 that was supposed to be like worshipping the 80s, I thought Kung Fury did it much better. Now Kung Fury never got the budget to make the feature. They only have the 30-minute short, but I still think it's better.
All right. Yeah.
Even because that was all shot on green screen, so there's like a stylistic glow to everything. Whereas this, it just feels like, I mean, it was made. This seems to be made a little bit better.
By somebody who like watched like Mad Max and like Blade Runner, and was just like, we can do like the post-apocalyptic like vibes.
Yeah, no, totally. I totally agree with you on that. And it was very okay. 3 bags. You probably don't have to waste your time with it. I'd watch Kung Fury, and you're gonna have a much more fun time.
It's also like very gory,
very serious.
But if you're somebody who like, I don't know, has
I can't even recommend this to anyone who like worships the 80s. Because if you're someone who like loves the 80s, we got better 80s recommendations. Like watch like freaking The Fifth Element or something.
Watch something
or
like from the 80s.
Predator. You know what I mean? Like
this was the 2015.
This was like synthwave wannabe 80s.
Yeah.
And that's cool. I was a big part. I was there, you know. But like I said, Kung Fury did it better.
Yeah.
I
give it 2.5 bags.
I gave it 3. It was very fine.
It was very fine.
It was very fine and forgettable.
And it was forgettable. I honestly, like I said, like I don't.
The most memorable part was that the whole plot was like Waterworld, where they're like, we're running out of water, and the only way to get water is by liquidating people.
Yeah.
And it was so stupid.
Silly.
But yeah, 3 bags.
3 bags.
Next up, probably last movie of this week.
Episode?
Yeah, is
we have the
probably the winner, right? Probably the best rated one. I mean, it was pretty close. This one and like Dream Scenario, maybe.
Yeah.
Knightriders. Knightriders? Knightriders.
Knightriders.
Riders. Yeah. So this film looks so stupid and campy based on the poster, but there's actually a lot of substance underneath that surface, and it's actually a really good movie. It's one of George Romero's weirder picks. You might know him from Night of the Living Dead or a bunch of the other zombie movies he made. So for him to make a very more human story that's grounded in reality, I thought was very interesting. Basic plot is it's not actually about a fictitious medieval environment where they have motorcycles. It's about a bunch of like Renaissance fair performers, basically.
Yes.
Who do this? Who do the what are they called? The
jousting.
Jousting. Who do the jousting on motorcycles instead of horses?
Yes.
And that's like their whole appeal of the show. And it's very early '80s, late '70s, kind of like backwater show that you'd pay a couple bucks to like just go watch off the side of the road, you know. So it's really cool, and it's very much of a different era,
like that kind of Pennsylvania Renaissance fair.
Yeah, but
little,
even but like low budget Renaissance fair, like unlicensed,
like guys
guys just getting into it,
but
doing
like
it.
This is their thing. This is their identity.
Pretty much in the plot, there's actually a plot here where there's a lot of like jealousy and like people getting into their roles to the point where they kind of become the character even when they're not performing. And there was a whole thing with they're like don't have enough budget to get new people in, so they get like some local bikers who are from like a Hell's Angel kind of roughhouse vibe, who are actually like hitting people and are really violent. But they don't
understand the nuance of
being cautious with your other performers and stuff. They're like just actually out there to hurt people.
Royal court, if you will.
Yeah. And so it's a really good movie about like performers and like entertainers
and their relationships to each other.
Yeah, but I was looking at it from that creative sort of sense, and I thought it was really interesting. I gave it 5 bags. This is a very fun movie. I gave it 4 bags. Not going to spoil it. Highly recommend you watch it.
My only thing is it's a little bit long. However, it feels very immersive. One of the more immersive films that I've watched, I feel like recently, where like I didn't mind sitting through it, but I did at some point be like, okay.
It is probably the longest movie on this week.
Yeah.
But I definitely think it's one of the better
especially
paced.
Because it's not necessarily... Yeah, it's well paced. It's just...
It doesn't feel that long.
Yeah.
It is a little bit long, but in terms of what's happening, it's like...
a lot of...
It's like plot, bike accidents, bike accidents. But it's a fun movie, and
You're going to be, like, invested in
It's a good one, especially if you like George Romero and you want to see one of his different films that's not a zombie movie. Highly recommend.
Yeah. If you like motorcycles, if you like
I love when directors that are like known for a certain thing do something different, like After Hours with Martin Scorsese. Love that movie.
Yeah.
Big fan. I just think that's fun. I always think it's like them are their most creative.
Something different. Yeah, for sure. I agree.
So anyway, that's probably the best movie this week. Go watch that one.
If you haven't seen Knightriders, which I feel like not a lot of people have, I would recommend checking it out for sure.
So, thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to another episode of our podcast.
Yeah.
We'll be back next week.
With more of Season 2. So, if you enjoyed this...
And who knows what we're going to watch next week?
Well, we do, because we already watched them, but...
That's a secret, though.
They don't. Unless you follow us on Letterboxd, then you do.
Yeah, that's
follow
true.
us in the links below.
Follow box.
Follow our box lettered.
In the bottom, in the description, if you want to catch our reviews before we post.
Yeah, and make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Help us increase that engagement and help us get more views.
Share with your friends.
Then we can do this full time.
Yeah. Okay, goodbye.
Have a good one, y'all. You gave him kisses?
Yeah.